It's the 6 albums in 6 minutes contest. Go. Alright, hey there, Jeff here. Time for a contest. My first ever contest. I know it's been a long time. I should have done one by now. Every time I hit a milestone, I couldn't find something to do a contest about fast enough, and next thing you know, the milestone's gone. So, I just hit 600 subscribers. I'm just a tad over now, so I've been thinking for the past week, let's do something. So, everything in this contest is going to be based around 6 for 600, but it's also going to have loosely based around 2 because the prizes are basically doubles that I have. So, that's where the connection is. Took a lot of thinking to get that one. Anyway, 6 albums in 6 minutes. The reason for the 6 minutes, first off, 600. Put the little colon in there. You got 6 minutes. And so I want to keep these short. I want people to get their answers in and get their responses in and keep it under 6 minutes because it's the contest around 6s and 2s. I don't know. Just call it that. So, 6 albums, 6 minutes. I want these questions are going to be in pairs, which is where the 2s come in. So, okay, so let's be clear on the rules. It's going to be the standard rules that most people have. You need to be a subscriber to my channel. You need to make a video. I want to see something that's a show and tell. The video needs to be under 6 minutes, which has been mentioned. And just comment below that you made a video and I will go track it down and put it in the playlist. You don't have to put a link to the video below. I'll just jump to your channel. Make sure you're making a comment from your channel. Because I know a lot of times when you put a link in a video, it will send it to the spam folder, which is not a problem. I can look at that on YouTube, but it will be possible to miss it if for some reason I don't. So, make a video, keep it under 6 minutes long, be a subscriber to my channel. Let's do this. Let's get right to the questions. After that, I'll show you the various prizes. We will have multiple winners because there are multiple prizes. I'm not 100% sure how many at this point, but I'm thinking definitely at least 2. I'm leaning possibly more towards 3. It's really going to, because I think that because the winners are going to have to take, you get the first choice and you get the second. I don't want to give away too many and then the last person gets stuck with like something totally outside of the realm of what they want. So I want to keep it, somewhat limited. So probably going to be at least 3 winners. So let's go. First question is going to be based on oldest and youngest. Now, there are multiple ways you could approach this. You can go with the oldest recorded music you own. It could be an album that came out last month, last week, but it's a recording that came from, 1920. I mean, it could be a really old recording, but a fairly new issue. Or you could say, this is the oldest album in my collection. This album was pressed in 1940. Now, you don't got to go digging through your 78s for that, so let's not go too crazy there. So, just an old pressing, an oldest released album, or the oldest, or an album showing old recorded music. And then the youngest. Youngest, I would to see a newer album. And there's 2 ways to look at that, too. One way I kind of would like you to lean towards, and this I'm kind of taking from a recent contest I entered, a recent released new band, meaning it's new music from a new band. So this is like their first album and it's recent. So in my situation, I'm going to show an album from 2020, end of 2020, and it's a new band. So it's new band, new music. Or you can say, okay, this is the newest album by so-and-so. Newest album from this year. And again, these 2 don't have to, the oldest and newest don't have to be the same band at all. Don't worry about that. Second question, first and last. And we're going to pull in the 6 into this. So I want to see the first release by a band and the absolute latest studio, these are studio, first studio release by a band, their last studio release. It doesn't have to be their absolute last album as far as they're no longer around. It can be, this is the one they released this year and this is the one they released 20 years ago. But in between, you got to have at least 6 albums. Again, we're pulling the 6 in. So I don't want to see the one and only album by a band. I don't want to see the band only had 2 albums. So here's our first and last. Give me something with the band that's got a little bit of history. First album and their last album with at least, a 6 album span. Okay, and then the third question is 2 extremes. Show me an album that is on one extreme music spectrum-wise and an album in your collection that is on the other extreme music spectrum wise. And and what I'd like to hear is just a tad bit. You only got 6 minutes. Give me just a tad bit of a story. Why do you like this band, and why do you like this style of music versus that style? You got two pretty good extremes. Not everybody may have major extremes. You may have here's some woodwind jazz, and here's some percussion jazz. It may be something. Again, it's up to you. Now, not limited to just showing vinyl, but I am going to say the greater majority of prizes for this are going to be vinyl related. So if you're not into vinyl, you may not find an adequate prize for this contest that you're going to want, because I really don't have a lot in the realm of like CDs. I do have a couple, and they are very limited on what they're about. So this may be more of a vinyl record person, but you're not limited to show that. You may want vinyl records, but you only have a lot more CDs to enter the contest. Again, I don't care. It could be 8 tracks. I don't care. It could be cassettes. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Just having fun with this, but let's make it short, but let's make it informative. So let me do the contest. I'll show you some of my examples to these contest answers. Okay, 6 albums in 6 minutes. We've got the oldest. This is a Benny Goodman album I picked up not too long ago. The album was released in 1960. The music contained on it was recorded in the 30s. So the music is some of the oldest that I have on record, and actually the 1960 record is probably one of the oldest that I have. I might have one other album that might have been pressed prior to that, one or two. Now, real brief story on this. I got into jazz back in the 80s. I had a friend who was into it. It's more of a modern jazz. I really got into Spyro Gyra, Billy Cobham, those type of guys in the late 70s, early 80s style, Saxon drums and all that kind of stuff. So more of a modern. Now, prior to that, though, around that same time, actually, my parents, of course, would have been from the big band era. My stepmother actually sung in a band most of her teen years. It was this type of music. So they were pretty popular in the area, so I got to hear all the stories about that. Now, when they came to visit me when I was stationed in Mississippi in the military, we went to New Orleans, which not too far of a drive. We went there and stayed, and they made a reservation to go to the Blue Room, which is a fancy restaurant. And at the Blue Room was the Tommy Dorsey Band. Tommy Dorsey, of course, has passed away, but his band still goes on. So I got to sit there and watch the Tommy Dorsey Band. Now, the one thing I noticed about it was the drummer is pretty radical. Now, I knew, of the Buddy Riches and all that in this type of music, but it's just, again, I was in the 80s at that point, still mainly just a metalhead. I was blown away by just the overall band sound. And of course, I've played woodwind instruments. I've been in band and school and all that, so I already knew the orchestra feel. So that appealed to me already. So I really was taken. It was like great. So then I started looking into big band era music, Buddy Rich and things like that. So as far as vinyl, I only pick up this kind of stuff if the price is really right. It's not something I go out and look at, but I do pick them up in thrift stores or whatever if they're in great shape. So I like picking up big band type releases, and so it goes from there. So this is one of the oldest, and then one of the newest is one I showed not too long ago, of Gods and Monsters. Brand new band, brand new album, came out into 2020, just came out on vinyl in 2021. And so yes, this is that super group type thing that's got members from all kinds of different bands, and you can see the names there if you're familiar with those guys. I'm not going to ramble on too much on that because I have covered that in a previous video. Second question, first and last, with at least 6 in between. I just quickly looked through my collection, found something in the A's, so I'm with that. I have shown this quite often. This is the first Adam and the Ants album, 1979. And this is the absolute most recent and last studio Adam and the Ant album Adam Ant album from 2013. So he has, I don't know, 7 or 8 studio albums over the years. So first and last. And then when it comes to two extremes, so what I went with was, this is Kemper Crabb's The Vigil. This is a very worshipful album. It is has a lot of medieval instruments. It's very just beautiful. It's beautiful done. This would have to be one of my desert island picks if I had to go on a desert island and could only pick X amount of albums. This would probably go with me. Absolutely have been in love with this album since the 80s when I discovered it. It is church music, Christian music. It is just amazing done, musical, vocal wise. It's just an amazing album. So, you know, as far as that goes. And then on the other extreme, death metal. Also a Christian band. And I still, Demona Seduth, I don't even know exactly how to pronounce it. But yeah, this would be an extreme. Now, it all depends on the mood you're in, of course. You know, I don't listen to a lot of extreme death metal, but I have a little in my collection. I have to be, there's a hair there. I have to be in, you know, a certain mood, and even then it tends to come in small spurts as far as how much I will listen to. So, yes, two extremes, praise and worship basically, and extreme death metal. Okay, so let's talk about the prizes. Now, as I mentioned, these are for the most part doubles. These are either doubles, albums that I already have in a couple cases, or they're albums that I have acquired that are not needed by me. So, the first two you saw in my video yesterday if you watched that, and that is the Tyrant Hereafter. This is brand new. I have a copy already, and I acquired this in the Metalhead box, so I am willing to pass this on. If you're not familiar with Tyrant, take a listen to them. This is sort of like a comeback album. They put out some albums in the 80s. I think they had, the other one was like in the 90s they came back, and then this is their newest. They have a new singer, but style-wise, not a whole lot of difference there. It is just more or less straightforward heavy metal. Their earlier stuff at times tinkered in the doom feel with the sludginess in the guitars and just the overall production, but for the most part I would just call them a straight heavy metal band. Not in any way, you know, 80s type metal, just your typical heavy metal of that time frame. So it's a great album. It's great to see them come back, and it's just a great release, and it could be yours. And the other one I showed also yesterday is the newest Haunt album, Mind Freeze. It is on this one came in multiple colors, and this is the one that is on the black and yellow quad color. Very pretty. And it turns out, you know, of all the colors options you could choose from, that is the one I picked too. Again, this is a band that's fairly new. They have a few releases out. They are classified as like more or less a new album feel, new wave of British heavy metal. They've got that classic hard rock feel. Just some great stuff. And yeah, so they have a handful of albums out, and this is their latest. And if you enter, you could win. All right, up next is something for those of you who may be into the extreme death, black / punkish metal. This is one I got in the Metalhead box a couple months ago, and it's just not really my style. I listened to a couple of the songs online, and while, you know, I didn't find them to be too bad, you know, I thought, well, yeah, that's not really that bad. I just feel like it's probably not something that's going to get as much love in my collection as someone else out there who's really into this style of music. You know, like the other album I showed that was in extreme metal, this would be one of those I would have on a rainy day when it's, you know, when you want to hear that. But again, I want to pass this on to someone who really is into this style. It is a brand new band's release, just came out in 2020, and so I just wanted to pass that on to someone if you're into the heavier side of things. All right, this next one is actually one that I won as a contest a handful of years ago, and this is going to be for those people who are more into the singer-songwriter style. It is a new copy of the recently, I think 2018 reissue of Late for the Sky. That's, like I said, I think it was 2018. It is still sealed. It's got a neat little tear thing there. I guess they marked through the barcode on the outside because it was a prize. Yes, so if you're into the more mellower side, I've got a prize possibly for you that you may want. All right, up next is, it's a little more metal. So on Record Store Day a couple months ago, I picked up 2 copies of the Fight album because I ran across them in a store a week later. I wanted a copy. I thought somebody else might need a copy, so I picked it up, and turns out nobody that I reached out to really wanted it. So I went ahead and kept it as a possible prize giveaway, which is, I even mentioned in the video when I showed it. Anyway, so yes, this could be yours if you desire to have the second Fight album. All right, up next, this will be for people who are a little more into the melodic, at times more pop, but not really, kind of still rock and roll. And that is Flying Colors, their first album. Absolutely, probably one of my absolute favorite albums, period. Now, this is opened. It has been played once or twice. I purchased this not too long ago, before they became impossibly priced to buy. This is the first Flying Colors album from a handful of years ago. Now, just a couple months ago, the label reissued this one and their second album on vinyl again to kind of match the third album that came out recently. So they're all on blue vinyl records. So this is an extra copy, but I'm telling you, it's in near mint condition. I haven't really handled it that much. It's fairly new to me, but I did play it, I think, once. And so, yes, this can be yours. If you don't know Flying Colors and you're into, they're highly influenced by like the Beatles and bands that have a lot of harmony. I just know all the guys in the bands are like that. It's kind of a super group. You've got the drummer from, formerly of Dream Theater, Mike Portnoy. You got Neil Morse, who has been in prog bands. You've got Steve Morse from Deep Purple, the Dixie Dregs, that whole history of stuff he's been in. It's just a super. And then the other two guys, Casey and Dave LaRue, have been in a lot of other bands too. So it's just a super, super album of melodic, at times quite upbeat, yet still with a slight rock edge that you just need to check out. So this would be one, if you're not into them, this would be a good way to check them out and get into them, because it's a great album. And this last one is one I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe somebody wants it only because I have an extra copy. This is Mad at the World, their 1987 release, just entitled Mad at the World. This is a Christian band, synth pop, keyboards, electronic drums. I absolutely adore this album. I found it in a thrift store, still sealed. I already had a copy that I bought still sealed. And so this is an extra. Again, this is just if somebody really wants this. It was an extra I had, and it's a great album. They've got a handful of albums out that they've changed styles. Went to a phase a couple albums later where they kind of sounded like, rock and gritty, like The Cure or something along that line. So it's just a band, and they recently put an album out a couple years ago. They got back together, and so I just love Mad at the World. And like I said, they are this particular album is in their first couple albums, which were very electronica, synth pop type feel. Great stuff, but again, it is going to be Christian lyrics and of that line. So this is just I had this. It's there if somebody is interested. Now, as far as what little I have on other media, is I am willing to. This is and it's limited to if you're only into these kind of styles. This is a CD that I got in the Metalhead box. Also, this is going to be death, dark black type metal. It is a split disc with Septori and Sadistic Forest, two bands. Each one has 4 songs. So if you're into this and you really want the CD and you're into this style of music, you can have this. And this came in yesterday's. This is a cassette of from I think 1987 is when this actual album came out. Canadian thrash band, Slaughter. And it's got a handful of songs on it. I forget. It's quite, it's a full album on cassette. And, it's just classic thrash from the 80s. So, here's 2 media that are not vinyl. I will put these together as a package if you are into this. I have one other CD, which is, again, and this is out there if you're interested into it. This is actually still sealed. It's a double record set. Versalis Records, I believe is how you pronounce it. They released a lot of these tribute albums. I saw them all the time in Walmart when we used to shop there all the time back in the day. They would have a tribute to Motley Crue, a tribute to this band, a tribute to that band, a tribute to this band. Well, this was quote unquote a tribute to Christian metal, Christian rock, Christian music. I say a tribute to Christian. It's called Glory Rock Volumes 1 and 2. Now, it's got a bunch of Christian bands. It's got a bunch of Christian artists singing with other bands, but it's not just Christian bands or Christian artists. You've got people on here that have just sung somewhat spiritual sounding songs. I mean, John Corabi's on here on a song. You've got guys from all kinds of other bands. I'm totally drawing a blank on some of the names. It's got 40-some songs on here. The bad thing about the 40-some songs is in order to fit 40-something songs on 2 CDs, you had to trim the songs. So you pretty much, people are starting to call this more of a sampler album because the songs are cut at 2 to 2.5 minutes. Now, the other big thing about this, which maybe really makes you want this, is my band is on this CD. So I had a bunch of them that they gave to us to give away over the years. I have one or two left that are still sealed. So they spelled our song title wrong, but and I don't know if you can see this, but it's probably too hard to see. But my band Hemotheory is on here with the song called Hypocrite. It was from an album we had just released. So we released it in 2007. So that tells you this is a 2000 maybe 8 or 9 release. So it's a handful of years, but it's got a lot of different guest artists and a lot of different song styles and a lot of songs. But it is, like I say, our 4-minute song they cut down to like 2.5. So it gets kind of irritated when it fades out before the bridge and everything. So that's in there if somebody really wants that, again, because I don't have a lot in the CD realm to offer that. So I just want to throw that out there in case somebody does. And who knows, maybe if nobody really ends up wanting something like that, maybe I'll throw it into somebody's bonus prize. Who knows? That's all for now. I've rambled on long enough. I want you to keep yours under 6 minutes, but mine, of course, is not, because I had to explain all the rules. But show me what you got. Let's have some fun with this. It's kind of open. It's just a way to celebrate. We love to celebrate, and it's a way to pass on some great music to people that I have sitting in my collection that are doubles. Thanks a lot for watching. Rock on and rock hard.